It's not so, I don't know, weird.
All right, you're streaming now, Weiwei.
That's okay.
All right.
We can replace the photo later.
All right, should we get started? Just make sure we're streaming. I'm going to check on Facebook that we are streaming. Okay, cool. I see it now. Okay.
All right, great.
Great.
Should we get started?
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you especially to Weiwei for joining us today. This is good evening for you, right? You're which time zone are you in?
Eastern time zone.
Eastern time, right? Okay, so you're around 10 o'clock at night. So thank you for joining us in your late evening. Aska and I are in Bali, so it's 10 o'clock over here. So my name is Tomo. I'm co-founder and managing director of Earth Company.
And I'm Aska. I'm the executive director and also co-founder of Earth Company.
And we'll let you speak a lot about yourself and your work, Weiwei. But before we do that, I just want to share the agenda for today for the next 60 minutes or so, which hopefully you can see. So this is the intro that we're doing right now. And then we'll move on to a short presentation on Earth Company, and then the Impact Hero Support Program, which will be done by Aska. And then we'll turn the focus to Weiwei, and then we'll basically ask you some questions about yourself, as well as what you've been doing. And then we'll also solicit questions from the audience. So the last 10 minutes or so, we want to be able to answer those questions. And then we'll do a little bit of promotion at the end to how to apply to become the next impact hero like Weiwei. Yeah. Okay. Just before we get started, to set the context, we are currently calling for applications for Impact Hero. It started on July 21st, and it runs till September 2nd. So we're kind of right in the middle of it. We had a similar conversation with Bella a couple weeks ago, and then today we're having Weiwei, and then next week we have Robin, and then we have Kathy at the end of the month. And then we're also preparing for a special session towards the end of the month as part of the call for applications. So yeah, we're very excited to be able to touch base with you, Weiwei, and then kind of reflect on what we've done, and then also, yeah, really want to hear more about what your great work. Okay, so I guess we'll start off with the video of Earth Company, which I think it does a good job summarizing who we are as an organization and what kind of support we provide to Impact Heroes. So can you turn it on? Yeah, thank you.
If there are people dedicating their lives to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges, then we need to support them. That's why we started Earth Company. We select and support exceptional, one-of-a-kind change makers who can make much deeper and wider impact if they have access to resources. We call them Impact Heroes.
Before I was a midwife, I was very happy as a school teacher, but I had this calling to give babies a chance to arrive on the earth without trauma and to give mothers respectful care. Our first clinic was in Bali. It started not as a clinic, it started as just a door-to-door service. And all of our services were always free. And I found that the people here had many, many difficulties getting the care that they needed in their pregnancy and for birth and for postpartum care. I had a lot of heartbreak in my life. My sister died. She died from a complication of pregnancy. The doctor, all he had to do was give her medication. All he had to do was look at her chart and care for 1 minute. So I decided then, okay, being a school teacher is nice, but I want to be a midwife. Because I believe if my sister had a midwife, the midwife would hold her hand and make sure that the doctor listens to her. Earth Company was the one that raised the money for the medical wing with the acupuncture and the doctor and the lab and everything. Without Earth Company, the clinic is not finished yet. They really stayed involved with Bumi Sehat and with me. I believe on the level of our souls, something matching, something special. So they're very, very instrumental in making Bumi Sehat stronger. Also through Earth Company, we were able to have a clinic for childbirth in Sentani, Papua. We keep the baby with mother 100% of the time, skin to skin, 100% breastfeeding at Bumi Sehat. If you immediately clamp and cut the cord, they won't have their full blood supply. If you take them away from mother immediately, then they will suffer from trauma, from separation, from placenta, and from mother. And then with that trauma, it closes your heart. So your capacity to love and trust is deeply affected. And they will grow up very much depending on how they are born.
There's a Native American proverb that says, "We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." We believe there's so much truth in these words. The world is full of issues, and so many people are struggling just to survive. Some people can change that reality. There are people who can change that reality. Everyone should be able to write their own endings to their own stories. We need more people who can make that happen. Ivy Robin, she's not an ordinary midwife. She's not only catching babies, she's saving the world and building peace, one baby, one mother, one family at a time. She goes to some of the most marginalized communities in the world and most disaster-strict zones to support those that most need it. The more I found out about her, I knew we had to support her.
How can I make the world a better place? Why was I born? All the humans in the world are born to love. I mean, how do you get to Earth? Two people have to make love. It's the planet of love. So that's why it's so important to love. We want every single citizen of Earth to have an intact capacity to love and trust. And I do everything I can every day toward that goal. And I believe that we can all do something. And if everybody does something, it's going to work. I have a lot of hope. Maybe I'm crazy. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm crazy, but that's okay. I hope everybody could be crazy for love, because I'm crazy for love and I'm crazy for peace.
All right. Hope you enjoyed the video. I know the resolution wasn't great, so apologies for that. But I think the audio was okay. So I hope you were able to hear. So now I'll turn it to Aska, who will talk a little bit more about Earth Company and then why we are doing this in the first place. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna start by explaining how we founded this organization. So we founded back in 2014, so it's been almost 6 years now. So 6 years ago, we knew these change makers that were really exceptional and amazing and inspirational and they knew how to make change in the communities that they wanted to save, and they included for Tomo, this guy called Pillow, and he's from Tibet. And for me, it was Bella. And Bella turned out to be our very first impact hero. And so we basically founded this organization for people like them. And yeah, so founded in 2014. So the question that we were asking at the time was, are we being good ancestors? And our answer wasn't really positive. And it's because there's so many problems around the world, environmental issues and social issues, and can we really confidently pass this world on to future generations? And we didn't feel confident about that. And as you know, if the whole world lived like an average American, then we need 5 Earths. That's how much resource that we're using as people. And if this was an average Japanese, so like the entire world is living like the Japanese people, then we would need 3 Earths. And we can't keep living like this. And it's causing a lot of issues, and it's pressing the lives of the people that don't actually benefit from the system that we have, that benefits it's us, the advanced country people. And in 2050, the population is going to be a lot more than now, and there's going to be more plastic waste in the ocean than fish. And in 2100, the global warming is going to be very, very serious, and it's going to be much worse than now. And there will be 2 billion climate refugees. And at the moment, we have 26 million refugees already, and that's not really counting the climate refugees. So, you can see how catastrophic this is going to be from this figure. And so what this is only talking about, well, mainly talking about environmental issues, but it's not just that. There are a lot of social issues that are pressing the lives of the people in the world as well. And so this was a Native American proverb that came up in the video as well, but we really resonate with this proverb. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And so this is saying that basically we have to give it back to our children, or pass it on to the children in the same way that we received it, or if, by making it even better for them. Otherwise, it would be very irresponsible as parents and ancestors, for the next generations. And luckily in the world, there are people who can just do that. There are exceptional change makers, just like Bella, just like Weiwei, and who work day and night, who are so dedicated and so passionate about this. And yeah, they work so hard to make the change that they envision for the future. But they don't always have the necessary resource they need to be able to make this kind of change. And basically, what we do is to accelerate the impact of their work, so that they can better serve their communities. So we're calling them impact heroes. So they are exceptional, one-of-a-kind change makers. One-of-a-kind change makers. So we select them just one per year, and we give them focused support, customized support for 3 years. And these are the 7 criteria of impact heroes. They're authentic, and this means that they usually have very intense past and experience that basically push them to do what they do. And so their motivation is very real and authentic. They're very passionate about it because of these experiences is that they actually had in their lives, and they're grounded. That means they work with the people. They don't always work with the high level officials and policy and stuff, but they actually really care for the people, and they do grassroots work as well. And they're very inspirational. This means that they can inspire change. They can inspire people to change. They can cause a shifting of the mindsets, and they are born as leaders. They're irreplaceable, so that means they're one of a kind, so then no one else can do what they do. So they're very special type of people, and they don't always just dream of future that has been benefiting the advanced countries, but they are aware of the problems with it, with the system as well, and they're seeking future that is that is most suitable for them, for their people. And so these are the impact heroes that we've selected over the past 5 years. And they come from Timor-Leste, from Indonesia, Marshall Islands, Philippines, and Weiwei comes from Myanmar. And they do a lot of different things. Some are addressing environmental problems. Some are doing climate change. Some do youth empowerment. Robin, she's a midwife. She's helping babies and families. And Weiwei, she's a human rights activist, and her work is all about peace building. And in the first 3 years, we basically selected the impact heroes from our side, and we reached out to them. But in the past 2 years, we extended the opportunity to a wider public. So we started doing an open call, which is exactly what we're doing now. And so we receive applications from change makers, and we select the finalists as well. And from the finalists, we select the most influential, the impact hero. So these were the 2018 finalists who are also amazing, and these are the 2019 finalists as well. And we're trying to extend the support to the finalists, not just the impact hero, but also the finalists going forward. So these are the support that we provide for the impact heroes. The leadership coaching is one. Fundraising is a major factor of it. The marketing supports. And so a lot of the impact heroes did amazing work, but they don't have the means to tell that to the world. And without effective marketing, fundraising is very difficult. So we do fundraising for them, but then after 3 years, they're going to have to do fundraising on their own. And so we provide them with the skills and know-how and the means and tools to be able to do that. Business development, we connect them to opportunities, to donors, to projects that might be able to support them, or we actually develop business opportunities like study tour programs, or whatever profit generating programs that could benefit them financially to help them become more financially sustainable. And then the last thing is management consulting. So a lot of them work so much work on the ground and with the people, but to be able to run an organization, you need a set of certain skills, and we do that. So that includes like marketing, fundraising, nonprofit finance, accounting, and also project management, and pretty much everything that they need to learn about running an organization. And so we don't always provide the knowledge from ourselves, but we connect them to experts and specialists. Okay. And so this is the rough timeline of how we support them. So, we do boot camps, and we sometimes bring them to Japan, and, so that they can actually meet the donors. Yeah, we do marketing support. So, yeah, this is a rough timeline. And so these are the projects that we've been supporting in the past 5 years. We've raised about $800,000 US for the 5 impact heroes, and we reached out to about 600,000 people, the beneficiaries in total. And so this included the Green School in Timor-Leste, and the Green Villas. This was a clinic in Bali, clinic in Papua. This was disaster management projects. And this is evacuation center. So most of these we're building from scratch. This is a clinic in Palawan in the Philippines that we're building right now. This is a climate change youth center that we helped build in Marshall Islands. And this is actually a youth center that's run by Weiwei. So we didn't build this one. We're helping with the operational expenses of this center. So these are the kind of things that we've been doing for the past, for the Impact Heroes in the past. But Impact Heroes program is not the only thing that we do. We also, to achieve the same mission, we have other programs as well. And another one is Impact Academy. This is basically educating change makers to nurture young change makers who can create a sustainable world. Impact Consulting is dealing with companies that are trying to make this kind of change and to create a sustainable world. So we help them make that shift. And the last thing is on our Earthly Paradise, which is an eco hotel that we're running. We opened just last September. And this is basically manifestation of all the values that we have. So, and this is in Bali. So we would love it if you guys can visit sometime. So this is basically the summary of what we do. So now we want to move on to actually talking to Weiwei and learning more about what Weiwei does and why she does what she does. All right. Okay, so Weiwei, so we're going to ask you to introduce yourself first, but we want you to talk about the life story, or the kind of life that you had, and maybe introducing about your backgrounds and how you lived your life so far, and maybe talk about why you do what you do.
Can you see me? Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I was so into your presentations. I didn't even realize what we were asking for. Do you want me to introduce myself and then what else? I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So, we want you to introduce yourself, talking about your background, where you come from, what kind of things you experienced that made you do what you do. So, basically talking about the cause,
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for having me today with you guys, and thank you again for like selecting me, choosing me as an impact hero, along with amazing other impact heroes at the art company. So I'm very honored for that, and thank you very much about that. And yeah, talking about myself, it's always difficult to talk about yourself. I talk about it 100 times, more than 100 times, but it's still always challenging to talk about yourself. So to start, yeah, my name is Wai Wai Nu, and I'm from Burma, Myanmar. I lived in Yangon, and but I was born in Rakhine State, and but I grew up most of my time in Yangon. And my father was a politician, so I grew up in a very political environment with my. I was so close to my dad, and I was around him all the time whenever he was talking about politics with his colleagues and friends. So I grew up being very close to my dad, and then when I was 18 years old, I was arrested along with my dad and my family, my mom, my sister, and my brother, and we had to spend 7 years in the prison, and almost 7 years, and we were released in 2012 with the presidential amnesty. One of the reasons that we were released during that time with the presidential amnesty is that we had the political transformations from military dictatorship to democracy, and in 2011 and in 2012 the president gave this amnesty with the reason that the political prisoners will be able to join in the country's transformations, political transformations, and in particular democratization. It was like a dream when I was released from the jail, because I was arrested for I was sentenced to 17 years. So it's mean we were released earlier for imprisonment. So it was like, in the prison, I almost lost hope, and I thought I'm not gonna be, there is no way of releasing. I might have to stay until end of my imprisonment. So when we were released, we were very happy. It was like a dream, and we were very hopeful, and we were hopeful and happy to see the changes in the country, and we thought we are going to be able to contribute to the transformations, democratizations. In fact, it turned out that the so-called democratic transition, it was not really genuine, and it was not really real. And many part of the Burma still remain very in a, remain in very like in a very dark situations, like under military dictatorship, and remain lots of human rights violations and every part of the country, especially when it's come to Rakhine State, where my community, the Rohingya, are from. The situations has turned very, very difficult. Like in 2012, we have this, so-called communal violence started, and then the violence broke out against the Rohingya populations, and about 150,000 people were displaced in Rakhine State, and many had to flee from the country. Since then, there is a hate campaign against the Rohingya and Muslim populations in general in the country. And there has been like ongoing like violence attack against the Rohingya and other Muslim populations around the country. So I thought, when I was released from the jails, I was already into like youth activism and democratic activism. But then I realized, I should do something for the situations in Rakhine State, especially there were like so much hate online, the propaganda against the Rohingya and Muslims. So I thought, I should do something, I should take some actions, and then, I started organizations basically to give another perspective about the situations, and to give voices of the women, and change kind of the perspective and hate towards the Rohingya. That was one of the reasons that I started my organization, Women Peace Network. So on the other hand, a lot of my focus over the time has been around access to justice for the women empowerment and peace building. So I started a kind of initiative with the Women Peace Network, as well as with an organization called Justice for Women, with a few others, lawyers friend. We started doing a lot of justice, women empowerment, and women legal educations and access to justice work, because part of the reason is because of my experience in the jail. So I had two major lessons learned during my presence and during my presence in the prison. The first thing is that I started to realize, what happened to me is not the individual, the military, or individual judges, and it's not my family's fault, or my family is not guilty of committing any crimes, or neither me, but it was not the individual who put us in the prison as well. It was the system that is corrupt. So I thought, when I go out of the prison, I would work on fixing, or improving this system, changing this system, like unjust, corrupt political system. So that was one reason. And secondly, I talked to many hundreds of women in the prison, and I started to realize how discriminations against women, sexism against women, all of this women's life has been how women's lives are differently affected than men, being in the prison. And I started to realize that I can do something to help these women to have to promote their access to justice, and to promote women's equality, gender equality. And at the same time, I saw many youth women in the prison that even don't have, many of them never had a dream what they want to become. So I thought that is very sad thing, and I could help young people to have a dream and to have a future. So that was part of the reason that I started organizing myself and, start my organization. So, major part of is the situations in Rakhine State, to respond to the situations in Rakhine State. And the second, second objective, or, the idea behind it was that my experiences in the prison, how the system has been corrupt and how women are differently affected and discriminated in the country.
Okay, thank you so much. So I know your big theme, your vision is to create the inclusive futures, right? Can you briefly talk about what this inclusive futures look like inside your head, and what you're doing about it, including the many activities and the projects that you're taking on now, and how you plan to achieve that?
Yeah. So yes, so over the 6-7 years of my experience working in the ground with the people, with the different stakeholders, different leaders, and engaging with the different leaders from different communities, and engaging with my own community in Rakhine and in Bangladesh, and also working with the young people, I started to realize how deep is marginalizations and exclusions within the people of the country. There are level of layers of discriminations and marginalizations in the system where we lived in. So, there are discriminations and exclusions about minority populations, against the women populations, against the different type of people, against the ethnic communities from different activities. And within this society, within, as a culture, we discriminate and we marginalize people, we exclude people. And that create ignorance, and that create prejudice, that creates, from there, we create the hate against the population. So I think that's what we need to work to bring people together, to promote the dialogues and to work together. And that is the only solutions that's within the communities and within the societies. On the other hand, there is a systemic exclusions and marginalizations by the state to particular, like to specific groups, such as, like, for example, Rohingya. They were saying that these people don't belong to the country, to the state. So, they try to push them out as much as we can. But then here we are today, we're witnessing that exclusions and marginalization cause, does not benefit anybody, but cause a greater, human tragedy. And that is, so my mission is to make people realize that that is not the solutions and that's not gonna work. The only way to move forward is when we appreciate our diversity, when we bring people together, when we promote inclusion. So that's what I am going to do in my next phase of next trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's such an important way of looking at things, right? Because it doesn't only apply to the Rohingya problems or the refugee problems, but it also applies to any human rights violations, including, the Black Lives Matter or the LGBTI, like pretty much anything, any of the human rights violations in the world. So, I think there's underlying root cause that are common in many issues that we have now. So I think your work is really important, not just to just the refugee problems, which itself is huge, but also I think it's going to help other issues.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally true. So we like to show the world that, not just for, this is not just for true for Myanmar, and we're not trying to address the marginalizations in Myanmar, but also throughout the globe, throughout the world, where many problems have actually started from the exclusions and marginalizations of the groups, especially the minority populations in one state. So I think that's where the roots are, and that's where we have to actually cure. We cannot. So a lot of the time we've been seeing that, you know, there are many organizations and countries try to address the symptom, not necessarily the root of the problem, the root causes of the problem. Now, you know, I believe that unless until we're able to address the root of the problem, we might not be able to address anything. So that's why, yes, you know, if you work on the impact, that's okay, but there has to be enough you know, effort and, you know, enough work to be done to address the root causes, and I am not seeing much. So I think that's where I am going forward.
I think as a, you know, because you are Rohingya and you grew up, you know, in that community, and I think people identify you as a Rohingya activist, right? And it's the same with us, right? We're Japanese, and we're doing this work, but you know, a lot of people see us, you know, expecting us to do things that are related to Japanese as well, right? And I think that applies to so many change makers, right? And there's expectation from outside of who you are ethnically and racially and, you know, sexually or whatever, right? But then there's so much beyond that. And especially in your case, you're trying to do things much more beyond, you know, beyond the Rohingya or the woman. It's really about really deeply ingrained injustices and discrimination, things like that. How do you balance those two things, you know, of your identity, serving your people, but then also beyond that?
Yeah, I think, you know, I believe we have to go to the root all the time, and we have a grounding all the time where we belong and who we are, and we have to remind ourselves who we are all the time. So I believe, you know, I mean, first of all, yes, I am a Burmese, but I am a Rohingya, right? So, you know, and my people are suffering from this the ongoing genocide. So, you know, I have responsibility to talk about, to speak up for my own people and to help them to overcome from these challenges. So I think that's where our ground and our root is there for, and we cannot just skip that and do international work, right? But at the same time, you know, when you work for your own community, it doesn't mean you don't have ability to work to address the greater issue. And my missions as a human being is to basically to create an equal, just and inclusive futures, and to work for the, you know, to promote human freedom and liberty, and to promote human dignity. That's my like ultimate goal. But then, because I'm Rohingya, I have a primary responsibility to, you know, to look after my people, to help my people, and that's where I will be always sticking to, regardless of what other people say. But your question is really good. Because of that, you know, I've been always framed to be a Rohingya. You know, you are only like entitled or eligible to work for the Rohingya. There is a stereotyping, especially when you are like okay, I face that stereotyping, and that's boxing, limiting my ability to work for the humanity and for human. In different level, I see within, for example, within my community, like among the Rohingya, you know, many male leaders expected me to work for only women because I'm a woman, right? Yeah. And then beyond that, beyond my community, there is a Burmese community at large. And this community expect me to work for only Rohingya. And you're not, you know, you are not entitled to talk about other people because you are Rohingya, so you're supposed to talk Rohingya. But if and their mentality is this, you know, Hippocratic mentality, right? If they're Burmese, you know, Burman Burmese, and they can talk about all other minorities, but then if you belong to minorities, then you can only talk about your own people, and that is so sarcastic, right? And beyond Burma, when you go to international level, and there is another way of, you know, marginalizations or boxing you, of framing you at the international level. They expect you to do only for your own cause or only for your own people. and sometimes they undermine your experience or your knowledge, your ability to act on something because who you are as a, you know, as a minority populations or as a vulnerable populations or as a victim of genocide. They see you always as a victim. They don't see you as an expert, or they don't see you as someone who can change the world, for example. And that is different layers of like stereotyping. And like, you know, I think there it has a lot to do with, again, you know, discriminations and marginalizations based on the color, based on the ethnicity, based on the what cause are you from, for example. You know, if you are survivors of like, you know, for you know, let's say if you're survivors of like like you know, ISIS, you are supposed to only talk about ISIS, something like that, and people don't allow you to say beyond that in terms of policy, in terms of, you know, injustice in general, in terms of you know, bigger issues is that we are having the systems in the world. So I think there are different level of this like stereotyping that I face in my experience, but I understand, because I understand this, and I take advantage of it. Sometimes, okay, if you're expecting to be a victim, I can do it, but it's only for my own advantage. Right? Only on my own advantage. If not, I would go and say, no, I want to be like this, you know? So, but then, you know, most of the time, a lot of people like us sometimes tend to compromise with the values and with your positions and stands, just because sometimes you feel so bound to the cause and so responsible to the cause. And I don't think that's a good like practice or exercise that we've been doing. We should be able to find a better you know, better solutions or better practices around this kind of.
I guess in a way you have to follow the rules of the power structure, right? In order to, you have to change from within. So you have to some extent, you know, follow the expectations and respond to the expectations. But then I think it's important to be able to take advantage of that system so that you actually use that in your advantage, right? And I think that's a really difficult skill, and I think you need a lot of experience and also confidence, right, to be able to do that. And I think, I mean, that's one of the things that we look for in, you know, impact heroes. And I think your work and also, you know, Kathy's work, I think two of you are, you know, quite unique in that, because you play both a very, you know, high level work in doing advocacy, having, you know, participating in, you know, UN and kind of multilateral meetings, having negotiations with different governments. But at the same time, you're also doing, you know, very, very much grassroots work, you know, with you in Yangon and also in the Cox's Bazar. For Kathy, that means, you know, working with the youth in the Marshall Islands. And so I think it's really that combination that makes your work quite effective and very unique. So yeah, and I think that's yeah, but also comes with a lot of challenges, you know, because you might be boxed into, you know, different categories. So yeah, but yeah, it's really really interesting points. Yeah, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, before I ask my question, yeah, I think it's a really great quality that you and Kathy have, not just you two, but you guys are able to do the top-down approach and also the bottom-up approach that are so important right now, because I mean, you have to. I mean, there are 1 million Rohingya refugees in Cox's Bazar right now in Bangladesh, and that's so many people, you know. And yes, we need the systemic change, and yes, we need to work with the policy and the government and all that. But that it's going to take a long time to take effect, right? And so we have to. There are issues right in front of you, and there are problems that we have to address right now. And so you're doing that, and at the same time, you're working with the very high level officials to make the influence that will be needed to make the systemic change, right? And that's a really rare quality that we see in people, and you guys have that, and yeah, and it's very rare to see that for people who work that high level. Like, I mean, for you, I mean, you've met most or maybe all of the living American presidents, including the current one and the past ones. And I mean, so you have your ways to influence the politics, and I know you can't talk too much about it, but I mean, there's I think there's a massive contributions that you're making to the world right now. But you are able to relate to the problems that are happening on the ground. And so my next question was, I think a lot of people might be wondering what's happening in the refugee camps right now. I'm back in 2017. There was a lot of news about that, and it's been 3 years now, almost exactly 3 years soon. Yeah, in a few weeks, and we don't hear too much about it anymore. And I know the COVID-19 has entered into the camps as well. So can you talk a little bit about the situations there?
Yeah, I mean, situations in the camps are very, very dire. And, we've been trying to talk to many women in the camps, and they are facing several problems. I mean, there are already existing very dire situations in the camps. They're living in like, 10 feet by 15 feet square tent, and the weather is so hot, and it's unimaginably hot, and they cannot just even sit inside the tent. And they were like relying on three kind of items from the NGOs, like such as rice, bean, and oil, mostly. And there is no education, there is no proper healthcare system. So the situations and the security itself is really dire. There has been like human trafficking and sex trafficking, all of these issues is and so the security wise, their food security wise, and their livelihood well-being wise, they've been very living conditions itself is already very dire. And then when COVID-19 came, and they become more vulnerable due to the COVID-19. It has been more than 4 months now that the camps are under lockdown. So there are many problem arises. For example, there are increased the domestic violence, and there are difficulties and challenges in terms of nutrition and access to food, and there are still like having limited access to the internet. And in the past, the younger kids, and there are like help like self-help like primary educations with in the camps. For example, some organization do some work there too. So those are, everything has shut down, and the income sources that they have relied on over the last several years from outside, for example, from their relatives from Malaysia or other part of the world, they are no longer able to send any money to the camp, because everywhere, a lot of people become unemployed due to the COVID-19, and almost all countries are under lockdown. So their income sources has been like cut off. So people are really having like extreme pressure, and like really serious conditions due to the COVID-19. So and one of the women saying that she feel like it's gonna blow up, in a way that kids cannot go around and play. The schools are closed, and there is nothing to eat. And then there is like fight, domestic violences, and all of these things. It put them a lot of pressure and like stress.
I see. Yeah, that's a really dire situation. Just, I know we don't have much time, but my last question, or actually last kind of opportunity, if you want to, I'm sure if you want to promote your work and ask for funding or volunteers, maybe you can just explain, the support that you're looking for within this audience, and then I'm sure this will also be posted on social media. So yeah, if you want to, yeah, your opportunity to ask for support.
Yeah, so we do, as you explained earlier, we do work on, youth empowerment, youth educations, I mean, including women education. And we also do, work around peace building, building, trust relationship within the communities. And we also do like work around human rights documentations, advocacy. We have like three major activities right now. So if you want to join us as volunteers, you can always contact us through our website, Women's Peace Network .org, or through our Facebook page. If you want to be come volunteers or interns, or if we're expats looking to volunteer sometime during this COVID-19, that's we're very welcome to have you. And if you want to promote our website and donate, and you can do this, you can still do it on the website. So we welcome all of your support, and we welcome you to join us in any way you can. And only we can achieve our missions only with your support. And we also thank you to the art company for your support and for your like help all this time during this difficult time. So yeah.
Great, thanks, Weiwei. I guess we'll we'll show and explain the slides now. We'll start to wrap up.
All right, so I'm gonna briefly talk about what we have done for Weiwei and what kind of project we're working on together right now. So that relates to what she was just talking about as well. Like our next phase is really fundraising. And so if any of you know anyone who would be willing to support Weiwei or her cause, her projects, then please do let us know. We would love to get connected to them, and so that we can together support Weiwei. So to introduce a little bit about what we've done so far. So usually, like when we select a new impact hero, we bring them to Bali for an orientation so that we can finally meet each other in person and get to know each other. The aim is really to get to know each other and to understand better what they do and why they do what they do and stuff like that. We do like professional photo shoots that so that they can have more proper photos and marketing materials and stuff like that as well. And we also do boot camps, consulting and in advisory and stuff like that as well. And last year we also did a crowdfunding project to support the operations of the youth centers is running in Yangon. We provided about $25,000 for 3 months worth of operational expenses. And after that, we brought her to Japan. Actually, not just her, but all of the impact heroes to Japan. And this was for our 5th anniversary event of Earth Company. And so they were able to meet other donors, and we were able to connect her to potential supporters. And we have been doing a lot of marketing research on how she will be able to become more financially sustainable. We've also been doing marketing support. So basically, just trying to register a new organization, sort of like the mothership of all the activities and projects that she does. It's so wide, and yeah, so we're trying to build the brand identity of that, and starting from logo, and we're going to be building brochures and completing the websites and the templates and letterhead and business cards and pretty much everything. And we also just about a month ago we did this online boot camps. So we did 3 of them. So we're talking about the vision and the mission and the plans, the actual concrete plans to effectively achieve her mission. And so that's the kind of stuff that we've been working on. And so now that we have the vision and mission and plans and all that, fixed, and we're building the brand identity. We're going to be ready pretty soon to start fundraising. And so you guys will hear about it for sure. And please do help us connect us to the people who might be willing to support us or her. Okay. And last but not least, so this is part of the Impact Heroes program, and we have opened the call for applications for the Impact Hero 2021. And this is going to be, the due date is going to be the 2nd of September. And so please make sure to apply before that. You can go to the link that's included in this slide at the bottom, and you'll find out all about it. And this is the process and timeline. So the submission deadline is the 2nd of September, and we're going to go through all the applications one by one, and carefully we're going to select the finalists or the shortlisted candidates. And from that, the shortlist candidates, we're going to narrow them down to finalists, and we'll do a lot of interviews, and eventually we'll be selecting the Impact Hero, and all candidates will be notified of the final decisions in early November. And so that's what the timeline is looking like. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us, and you can email us, or you can message us on Facebook, or whatever means that you have. Just one question that arose, I think, during this session is from Peter. He's one of the finalists from 2018. And thank you so much for watching again. So as I said in my presentation, we're extending the support. We're trying to extend our support to the finalists as well, not just the Impact Heroes. And so we're thinking of, so we actually took a year off last year. So there was no Impact Hero 2020. Yeah. So for 1 year, we sort of accumulated all that knowledge that we've built so far in the past 5 years. So to keep the knowledge that works, and to improve the ones that didn't work. And so we're actually building curriculum and sort of like a knowledge, sort of like a textbook for Impact Heroes, for all of the know-hows and the capacity building that we do for them. So that includes like marketing, fundraising, finance, impact measurements, and opportunity building, like business development, and pretty much anything that you need to know. And so that will be finalized probably by the end of this year. And so we're hoping to provide that kind of knowledge to not just the Impact Heroes, but because a lot of our communication is done online. And so we're hoping that the finalists can join these capacity building sessions, so that they can learn from these sessions as well, and also they can communicate with the existing Impact Heroes, so they can support each other and expand the networks together or something like that. And so that's something we're planning on right now, which is going to be pretty exciting next year.
And this will include all the past finalists as well, not just the future finalists. So Peter, you'll definitely be included along with many other great change makers.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, no, sorry. Last but not least. So this is part of the Heroes Talk series, right? And so we've talked with Bella 2 weeks ago, and we're doing Weiwei's talk right now. So the next one is going to be, I think, next week, right? Next Wednesday on the 19th. We're going to be talking to Robin. She's a legendary midwife, and she's a change maker. She's a very charismatic leader. If anyone viewing this right now is from Bali, then I think you would know her. She's also amazing. And then the last one is going to be Kathy. She's a climate change activist from Marshall Islands. It's one of the countries that are sinking underwater because of climate change and the sea level rise. And she's highly influential, and she's very passionate. She's also a poet. She has her ways with words. She's really great with words, and she inspires the world, telling stories about what's happening in her country and how we can possibly save not just the Marshall Islands, but the world from this massive issue that we're having in the world. And so hopefully you guys can join the last 2 sessions as well. And we're really looking forward to that as well. Yeah. I think that's it.
Okay. So that's about it from our side. Thank you so much for joining us, Weiwei. Always a pleasure and also inspiration to hear about your work and on your life story. And I know that we had a lot of viewers from Myanmar actually on Facebook. And so a lot of your followers and fans were with you as well. So yeah, thanks again for everyone for joining, for Weiwei for joining. And have a good evening and rest of the day. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much too. It's so lovely to see you always. And thank you everyone for joining us as well. And check us, join us, often whenever we have these things, and look forward to the future.
Yes.
Great.
Great.
All
Thanks,
right. Thanks so
Weiwei.
much,
Okay.
Weiwei. Bye, everyone. Have a
Bye.
good day. Have a good night.
Bye.